there's that first whistle, and you know what that's time for. The Week 7 edition of Final Whistle. And not to fear, your heroes are back. We're going to get a hero's welcome now. I expect flowers at my front door, chocolates. Oh, and our team's won. So I expect
Barely.
everyone to yes, we'll get to that. But there was a lot of great things that happened today, and I'm glad to be here with you, Jackson. But I'm sure there's a lot of people out there wondering where the heck have we been. Let's just say we had a miscommunication, and we just took a nice little break off. But not to worry, it won't happen again because we're going to be here the rest of the year, and we're going to make our predictions too. So not to fear. And when Jackson picks Alabama over LSU, I will make sure he hears about it. But first of all, I forgot to introduce us. Where are my manners? So, if you don't know, I'm Sports Talk with Austin. This is my co-host, my brother from another mother, my partner in crime, the Alabama Crimson Tide loving man, Jackson Johnson, the host of the Jacksonian. Welcome to Final Whistle. Jackson, how are you? And happy Week 7.
Oh, doing pretty good. Been having a pretty good day. And in spite of what I saw today, which we'll get to that in a minute, where I'll be discussing my take on a certain team that fell apart against Vanderbilt last week. I mean, it's like nobody does that, but there was one team that fell off on Friday night.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
And Arizona State usually gives top 25 teams nightmares when they come to Tempe, Arizona. You know how I always say dreams go to die in Pittsburgh?
Yes.
Well, they tend to die over in Tempe, Arizona. And Cam Skatebow, this young man had a huge night on Friday night because he had 158 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, 22 carries. This guy could not be caught. And unfortunately, this was a bad night for Cam Bad Moon Rising. So kind of like how we see Bad Moon Rising from Creedence Clearwater Revival. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, Arizona State made sure Utah saw Bad Moon Rising, and it was trouble all the way for those Utes. What was your takeaway from this game, Austin?
Yeah, this game, Cam Rising just didn't look the same on Friday. I get some guys coming off injuries. They take them in to get back in rhythm. We saw it in the Red River rivalry. Say with Quentin Ewers. He was a little rusty. We'll talk about that, later on. But it just seemed like it was more than rust because he was missing throws that he normally makes. And I get it, having a bad hand. Sometimes even with a glove on, it's still you haven't thrown a football in a while, and it takes a minute. But he just didn't look like the Cam Rising that we knew and loved. And as I've said multiple times, and I know I'm beating a dead horse by saying this again, but Utah goes as far as Cam Rising will take them. And that's true to form, and you saw it here. Because the defense can only do so much. And Scatbo or Skidbo or however you say his name, I apologize. He is a really fun running back. He possesses third, fourth round, maybe even high second round, skills for the NFL. Like, he's a hard guy to get on the ground. And when he gets going, he gets going. And Jason O says, Skimbo is fun to watch. Agreed. I wasn't familiar with him, but I kind of watched Arizona State more than I have in years past. He's pretty fun to watch. And I got to say, too, I'm really impressed with the job that Kenny Dillingham is doing here in year 2. Arizona State's 5-1. And they were a team for all intents and purposes, that were left for dead, got all these penalties put on them, and here they are, 5-1, one win away from a bowl eligibility, and who knows? They keep this momentum up, could be a dark horse in the Big 12. That's. I don't know if that's saying more about Arizona State or if that's saying more about the Big 12 as a whole, that it's that wide open. But overall, great game by Arizona State. Utah, Cam Rising's just got to get back in rhythm and get healthy, or else it could get worse from here.
Yeah. I'm not liking where the health is going for Cam Rising. And we know we've talked about how long is Kyle Whittingham going to be coaching Utah. Is this the time to be asking that question, or do we wait a little? Should we be waiting like another year to ask it?
I feel like Jackson, he's done so much good for this program. I don't feel like they would push him out.
Right.
I don't feel like this is a North Carolina situation, which we'll get to them. Lord have mercy. I feel sorry for what they've got going, but I feel like he might coach another 2 to 3 years and then might call it a career. Just depending on, I think he wants to win the Big 12 maybe, and then maybe he'll be like, okay, we won the Pac, we won the Big 12.
We won the Mount West.
I won. Oh, and it'd be like, I won the Triple Crown. I'm good. I'm satisfied. And I did it. Yeah. I did 2 out of 3 with the quarterback that I love, which would be Cam Rising, but and the team that I love. So it's interesting. I say give it 2 or 3 years, and then we'll talk again. As long as they don't go like 6-6 or 7-5. If they go 8-4, it could be worse.
True. But if you're doing that for another 2 years after that, then there's issues.
Mm-hmm.
But somebody who should be asking about whether it's time to get ready to call for the hot seat is Maryland. I mean, my God, you get your butt handed to you 37-10 by Northwestern. That's not Ara Parseghian Northwestern. It's just plain Northwestern. You know, like in Gravity Falls, where it's like, oh, we got this guy, we got this girl, and there's Seuss. Well, that's how it is with Northwestern. We got Ohio State, Michigan, Nebraska, USC, and there's Northwestern. Yay. But
yeah,
and usually Maryland has these great starts in the beginning of the season, but then they fall apart. Well, this year has been a major league exception for the Terrapins. And in a way, I feel like Mike Locksley has only been hired because of the fact they coached under Saban. I mean, it doesn't really take a rocket scientist to figure that one out. But I mean, would you want to hire a coach that was 2-26 at New Mexico? No, you wouldn't.
Yeah, I feel like Jackson, the more I watch Maryland, the more I'm like starting to think maybe Mike Locksley is gonna be getting a lot of hot seat conversations. And I feel like Jackson, it doesn't help that he was the quarterback last year, Tagovailoa, to his brother. He was really good. He was able to fix a lot of Maryland's mistakes or downfalls or shortcomings, and they were able to go 6-6, 7-5, and be able to be like, "Yay, we're 7-5, we're going bowling." Mike Locksley, woo! And now that he's gone, and they've lost a lot of weapons, and Billy Edwards Jr. I'm sorry, Jackson, but he needs to sit on the bench some more. He's not a very good quarterback. I understand sometimes it takes a quarterback a year to learn a system, but he's played some really bad football. like bad.
Well, Jay Snow brings up a good point. They was an assistant coach at Maryland at one point, but still, though, I think those Saban ties definitely helped him quite a lot. Which he's one of those coaches that if it weren't for Saban, he would not be a head coach again. He just wouldn't. Like he's just never going to be that guy that brings Maryland over to 8-4 or 9-3 every year. That's just not going to happen. Because let's be real, they're not getting a Big Ten title. We don't expect that, but you shouldn't be having huge starts to the season and then blowing it in the second half, and then like when one of your years is a major exception, you're blowing it against teams like Northwestern. You can't be having bad days like that. I mean, that's terrible. My
Yeah,
God.
Maryland's one of the programs, Jackson, where if they go 9-3, 8-4, it's kind of like they celebrate it because it's very rare that they get that kind of accomplishment. So it's kind of like the expectation every year is probably what goes 7-5 at Maryland.
Yeah.
I would probably say that's the except. Like you go 7-5 at Maryland, it's like you're a king there. It's not like we're talking about, and Jay Snow says they went 8-5 the last 2 seasons. And I'm sure that's what's keeping Loxley off the hot seat at the moment. Wouldn't you agree, Jackson? Because of his success the last 2 years.
I mean, I wouldn't exactly call having huge starts in the first half of the season and doing bad in the second half a success, but that's me. That's my opinion. But I think also those ball wins have really helped him as well.
Uh-huh. Yeah, beating an SEC opponent like Auburn, I really think that really helps them, especially with the whole Big Ten SEC competitive thing of who's the better conference. But we all know they're 1-2, whichever opinion you think. But good win for Northwestern, though. I know we're harping on Maryland, but good win for Northwestern. They're 3-3. Do you think David Braun's still got a little magic left, and they can maybe make a bowl game for the second year in a row?
We're gonna wait and see, but they made their chances better.
I agree. We shall see. Should be interesting, but
unfortunately, this was
boy.
not. Oh my God! Like this was terrible.
Jackson, do you care? Jackson, before I say anything, do you care to explain yourself?
What I did.
Jackson, you're the Alabama man. Like you like holy moly. Go ahead, Jackson. Explain to me why this team isn't disciplined. Explain to me why their secondary can't cover nobody at the moment.
We're not a Saban team anymore. And we're in like the first year of the Kayla DeBoer era. It's like unfortunately there's gonna be some kinks that we're trying to get out. And
I mean,
I really hate what our secondary has been doing this year. I don't like how we're going to be playing. I don't like. I really have no words for this. It's just not. We have not done so well. Like the passing game of Jalen Hurts, he acted all jittery, because I mean it was like Johnny and I said on the Alabama postgame show today. We were talking about how jittery Jalen Hurts has been, and he can't be doing that against Tennessee next week. Well, luckily,
Jalen Milroe Jackson. Jalen Milroe, not Jalen Hurts. Wrong quarterback.
Yeah, I know.
Jalen Hurts plays for the Eagles.
Yep, Jalen Milroe. I thought I said Miller, but if I didn't, my error. And yeah, Milroe was jittery as heck.
And Jason O says South Carolina had Bama shook though.
Yeah.
I will say, Jackson, I get sometimes first year head coach, it takes some time to work out the kinks. I understand that. But when you're Alabama and you have so much talent like you all do, there shouldn't really be this growing phase. Like I understand there's going to be room for error. Like, you have to be patient, and I understand. But the thing I want to understand is, like, the simple thing, Jackson, that should translate even with a first-year head coach. What was up with that onside kick? Normally that's routine. You practice that most of the time.
It's like, my God, that was just so terrible. That was just terrible.
Like that's the thing, Jackson. Normally, no matter if you're a first-year head coach, you've been doing it 22-plus years. Normally, the onside kick recovery, those are normally stuff you do in practice. Like, coaches always have game plans for those. They probably spend at least an hour a day or maybe even a full practice session practicing that. And I'm just sitting here watching this, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm flipping through my channels, just seeing what was on. I didn't really pay attention to this game because I was thinking, okay, Bama's going to play angry. They're going to play ticked off, and this is going to get ugly. And then I flip through just to see what Alabama's up to, and I see it's 14-12, and I'm thinking, what the heck happened? Now, I understand. Sometimes there's always – Sean, we'll get to your game later on. Your game was the main event. We'll save that for last. Right now, we're in Jackson's therapy session. But don't worry, Jackson. I'm sure I'll have some with you some weeks. But anywho, back to your team. And I feel like Jackson, Jalen Milroe, those two interceptions, like you said, he kind of got happy feet. I don't know if he got sped up, like he expected blitz or something coming and he threw it quicker. Like his confidence seemed shooken just a little bit. Like the Georgia game, he was kind of like in control, doing his thing. Like he had the swag going. These last couple games, he seems to be getting more happy feet. He seems to be, like Jackson. Do you think that maybe that Vandy loss is getting to him?
It might be. It's what it's feeling like.
And it's one of them things as a coach that Kalen Boyer has got to be like, hey, like you just got to tell him shrug it off, like mental game. Like don't let it get to your head. Like shake it off. Like we know in the Saban era, Jackson. We know in the Saban era, it would have been, he wouldn't allow for those errors. But Jason O says, did Bama fans really expect to remain dominant after losing the greatest coach of all time? It's the new coach's first year. It's going to take a little bit regime to get their footing. What do you think about that, Jackson?
I think honestly, like a lot of Bama fans, like I wasn't really expecting dominance right away, but like a lot of people around me, they're like, Nick Saban wouldn't have done this. Nick Saban wouldn't have done that. It's like, that's the problem of replacing someone that's had like a huge impact. It's happened everywhere. Like we see it in real life. We see it in like, politics or, on the entertainment industry or, or in the other sports as well. We see it a lot. When you replace a legend, you kind of get like this stuff about, well, the legend wouldn't have done this. The legend wouldn't have done that. Like you can't do that. And all those people saying that, they're not the ones that got to deal with it. They're not the ones that have to deal with the pressures of that situation. They get to be the ones sitting on the couch, having the cheese sauce and beer, yelling at the TV. And that's fine,
And yeah, one of the things I want to touch on too, Jackson, is I feel like sometimes it gets lost in translation. But I want to say this with everyone listening. Sometimes championship teams, there's an old saying, championship teams find ways to win.
Mm-hmm.
They may not always look the prettiest, but they find ways to win. So if people will look at this and be like, they'll critique this against Alabama. But if Alabama goes on to win the whole thing this year, you just have to look at it and say, you know what? We ended up winning the whole dang thing. We were a championship team, and we found ways to pull these games out. It's like in the NFL, Jackson, with the Chiefs last year. When they were finding ways to pull games out of the fire, they were a championship team. They found ways to win. And I kind of feel like if Alabama goes on and wins it all, that's kind of going to be their story of the year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I got to say this, though, Jackson, not to change the subject a little bit. Do you think Shane Beamer, with his last couple performances against LSU and against your Crimson Tide, do you think he's earned a vote of confidence, even if they don't make a bowl game?
I'm honestly wondering if they're going to win that one game if they'll finally break through in that one game that they shouldn't win. Like, for example, Oklahoma, next Saturday. Or we're going to see whether they could win against Texas A&M, Missouri, Clemson, Vandy. We know they'll beat Wofford.
Win a game. Yeah, I'll be curious too, Jackson, because I know you've been a big component of Shane Beamer and the hot seat talk. You brought it up here on the Final Whistle. You brought it up with Mark Rogers at the Voice of College Football. You've even brought it up on your Twitter accounts. You've been keeping your eye on whether or not South Carolina should boom out, so to speak.
It's not like whether I want to see him on there, because honestly, I don't think he should be. I think honestly, if you want to see some wins, you got to have stability. You can't just have this whole idea of, well, I'm pissed off and I'm going to throw a fit in the grocery store because that's going to get them fired. We see that a lot with a lot of SEC teams. How's that worked out for them? Not very much. The teams that do that, firing coaches willy-nilly because, everyone else is mad. Well, just look back at history. Look back at history. Like, for example, Dabo Swinney. Going into 2011, a lot of people were not satisfied with how he was running Clemson. 2008, he took over as the interim. 2009, he got him to the ACC title game. They lost to Georgia Tech, but won the Mississippi Bowl. 2010, they finished 6-7, lost in the Meineke Car Care Bowl against South Florida. But a little bit after that South Carolina game, the AD wants to have a talk with him the next day. That's not good news, right? Well, he has a backroom talk with Dabo Swinney about how, everybody's telling me I should just fire you, right? Well, let's work together on how we can build this team for 2011. Because you know what I want? I want stability. I see good things happening in this future. Let's work together. What happens? Things work out for Clemson. Virginia. Hell, Shane Beamer's dad, Frank Beamer. People forget that he was on a hot seat at one point. People talked about how god awful he was because of the record he was having. The first
Mhm.
5-6 years. Guess what happened? Frank Beamer nailed it. We see him nailing it at Virginia Tech. They could have fired him after year 6 for going 2-8-1, but they didn't. They went 9-3. And I know that's a different time and a different place. We're in a different decade than we are in like the 90s or the 80s. But if you give coaches time and don't give in to that one person throwing a fit in the grocery store, you will be all right in the long term. Will there be bumps in the road? Absolutely. But it's not about you having bumps on the road. It's about how you deal with it. Now, South Carolina, of course, they've been kind of a mixed bag. They came up short against Alabama today. They came up short against LSU. They blew their shot at victory, not just against LSU, but against Alabama. And, they barely beat Old Dominion. They smacked Kentucky. They've been kind of up and down this season. Now, again,
the thing I've learned about. Go ahead, good buddy.
I want to see Shane Beamer succeed at South Carolina. I think he can do fantastically well if given the chance. But I hope he could learn from this year. But what was it you were going to say?
I was going to say, Jackson, I learned a lot about this South Carolina team. They've hung with the big boys in the SEC. A lot of people say your record is who you are. My thing is, if South Carolina goes 4-8, as the great Mark Rogers sometimes says, they're a competitive 4-8 team. Because let's be honest, Jackson, their record may say 4-8, but are they a 4-8 team? I don't think so. Because would a 4-8 team take LSU down to the wire? Would they take Big Bag Bama to the brink? I don't think so. And I just feel like, Jackson, sometimes your record don't always reflect on who you are. I feel like at the end of the year, we're going to look at South Carolina if they don't make a bowl game and say, you were competitive against the big boys, Shane Beamer, you've earned our respect.
Yeah. Because honestly, I really hope to see an upset win for South Carolina. And with what happened for Oklahoma, I don't think they're going to be in the top 25 very long.
I know. But I will say, though, Jackson, go ahead.
Which, speaking of the devil, we got the 2024 edition of the Red River Rivalry. And Quinn Ewers came back from injury. And the Red River Rivalry being on 2:30 did not faze the Longhorns today. I think the Texas Longhorns can be a national title team, whether they win the SEC or don't. It doesn't matter how they do in the SEC title. Honestly, I think they could be one of those teams that win it all.
Oh, we're going to have this argument again, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. We are. Because you worry too much, man. This is not the past Texas teams. This is a different Texas team. This is a national title team.
Oh, Jackson, don't you start that with them. Jackson,
I'm going to.
Jackson, you just jinxed them. What? They're going to lose to a bad team somewhere.
No, they're not.
They're going to lose to Florida or Kentucky just because you said that. No. In all seriousness, though.
But even if they do, they're still in. They're still in.
I will say, I would. And Jason says Texas is the top dog to further notice. Well, guess what? They got the dogs next weekend, so we'll see who the top dog is after Saturday night. But I will say, Jackson,
Like,
They have all
honestly,
the pieces
I
to
don't
beat.
think it matters whether they beat Georgia next week, honestly. For me, it doesn't matter. All they have to do is go 11-1, 10-2. They're in the playoffs, no ifs, ands, or buts. And honestly, they could be a national title team. As long as they got Quinn Ewers, this team can win it all. I mean, I will go as far as say this is gonna be like JJ McCarthy in Michigan.
See, Jackson, but here's my thing. The only pushback I'll have, I think they kind of need to beat Georgia just to secure their spot. So I feel like their resume will not be good enough that the committee could think about it. Like, I won't say that they would miss it, but the committee would think long and hard about, instead of them being a top 5, 6 seed getting a home game, they could be put on the road because Jackson, that
It
Michigan
wouldn't
win,
matter what
not
it
looking too
wouldn't
good.
matter it wouldn't matter what ranking or what seed they are, just as long as they're in that 12-team fold.
Because Jackson, their resume, it's not speaking to me right now. Like Jackson, their win over Michigan, we thought was a great win, but seems like Michigan has taken a drastic fall for the worse.
I would not throw
And
the baby out with the bathwater just yet, because that's always a win at the big house is a win at the big house.
But Jackson, Michigan's not a good football team.
I
They
don't
haven't
give a
shown
rat's
it.
ass.
Come on, Jackson. Come
I
on.
don't give a
You're
rat's
trying to
ass.
tell.
The last time
Come
anybody
on,
beat
Jackson.
the last time anybody beat Michigan at the big house prior to 2024 was in the COVID year, and I believe it was and prior to the COVID year was 2019. So,
And Jason O's their resume. They have 6 blowout wins so far. But that's the thing though. They haven't played nobody. I want to see them play somebody. Like,
oh,
I'll
they
give you
will.
credit. Michigan is a somebody, but Michigan is not a very good somebody at the moment. Now, if they go and beat Georgia by 20 plus points, they got my vote. I'm on the Texas bandwagon.
There you go.
But
That's all I need.
But I will be on the side with Jackson and be like, okay, Texas is national title. They're ready. Steve Sarkisian, you got my vote.
See,
But
this is why you
you're
should
blowing
tune
out.
into the Final Whistle and the Pits Analysis Show every week, because you will see fun moments like this every week.
Because here's the thing. If they dominate Georgia and win, you got my vote. But I need to see it first. Because beating Mississippi State and beating, UNL Monroe,
Damn,
they need to
right.
be. Let me rephrase that. This took a deep turn. Okay, let me rephrase this because that came out wrong, I guess. If they look,
he's funny with you.
they need to look impressive against Georgia. They need to show me that they are far superior than Georgia. They need to show me in a convincing fashion, like they did against Alabama 2 years ago. If they could get a win like that against Georgia, they've got my vote.
First they will.
It's been 2 years. Yeah, it's been a year ago. I was thinking two years ago. Yeah.
2 years ago, they almost beat Alabama and Austin, but they didn't.
Yeah, so 1 year ago, you were right. But I want to see that type of performance out of Texas, and then I will buy the Texas's championship contenders. But we done raining on Texas.
Oh yeah.
Go ahead, Jax.
I don't know if I'm done catching my breath yet, but how about the Oklahoma Sooners with Brent Venables? Like, it's what's going to be going on with them?
And to Jason O's point, he said, dude, if they beat Georgia by 1 point, they're the best team in America.
Uh-huh.
But then there's an argument to have that we really don't know who the superior team is, because you can make a case that Georgia could have played better, but that doesn't make Texas the better team if they win by 1 point. Like Ohio State, Oregon, we'll get to them last, but is Oregon the better team than Ohio State? So that's the thing of, I want to see it on the field. If Texas wins by 1 point and they look impressive doing it, then yes. But if they don't look impressive and Georgia looks like a better team and Texas wins by 1 point, then it's one of the things. Right now, I think Texas is probably the better team, but it's just one of them things like Mark Rogers said about the Ohio State-Oregon game, and I agree with him. Oregon could win this game like they did tonight, but does that make Oregon the better team than Ohio State? In a lot of people's books, no. Right, Jackson?
That's right.
But I can't believe Texas derailed us. Gosh, Texas. But anywho, back to Brent Venables. What was your question again, Jackson? I got so focused on Texas.
That was my fault. But anyway, what's the discussion going to be on Brent Venables? Like, that's what I'm wondering about.
Do you think his job's on the line?
No, I wouldn't go as far as say that, but I'd go as far as say as he could be in a heap of trouble in a way.
And Jason O says Venables needs time, but he might not get it. Yeah, I could see. Okay, Jackson, I can see where you're going with this. Mm-hmm. Maybe he's not it. Okay. I mean, I feel like Jackson, the Oklahoma defense, has been really good in his couple years there. I think the problem is once Dillon Gabriel left, we've seen their quarterback play has been very, very average. Like, I think, and Venables being a defensive head coach, I kind of feel like he's taken the Iowa approach in some way. Like, our defense is good enough that they can hold team under 20 points and will find ways to win ball games. But Jackson, as you always say, and that you had a little ranting session on, is that's what you got on Iowa about. You were like, this isn't 1990. You need to score 20 plus points to win these games. And it's like, I feel like that's the approach he's like showing us, in my opinion. Yep. I could be wrong. I could be reading it wrong. But I just feel like that's the approach that he's showing us.
True. Well, Georgia squeaked it out against Mississippi State today. It's been a lot of teams squeaking out when we least expected it.
Yeah, Jackson, Georgia is not the Georgia that we remember, because Jackson, the Georgia of 2 years ago, even the Georgia of last year, would have, as you like to say, skull dragged Mississippi State. But now it seems like there's a lot more weaknesses, and they're not the big bad Bulldogs anymore. They don't have that aura, as the kids say about them. Like, they are beatable. There is a weakness to them. There is kryptonite. There is hope you can beat them.
Yep.
But good win, though. They didn't let this game become a trap. Didn't look ahead to Texas. Good win. Congrats, Georgia. But 31 points, and I'm not used to seeing that from Georgia's defense.
Yeah. That usually does not happen. But somebody that Georgia. Somebody that always has trouble is Tennessee. They always have trouble against Florida. I get so irritated by them.
Jackson, this was a heck of a game. I know a lot of people were paying attention to the big game, the two big games, but if you didn't tune into this game, go and watch the highlights. This was a fun game. Like, and Jackson, he even sent me a message. He was like, "Florida is Tennessee's kryptonite." I couldn't agree more with you, Jackson, because it seems like every time. Well, here's the thing, too, Jackson. Florida was up 10-0, and then the big story that came out of this is Graham Mertz. Did you see what happened to him, Jackson?
He got
the injury
hurt.
he sustained.
He got hurt.
And I believe the way the reports are talking, he's done for the year, isn't he?
Well, we're going to find out and see. Let's see, Graham Mertz.
Because I believe the reports and even the commentators were like thinking his year was over.
He ended his career.
Did he tear his ACL? Is that what they're thinking? Because he was on crutches.
Yeah, he suffered a leg injury, but apparently it was enough for him to end his career. Florida played tough tonight. Agreed.
They did. And Jackson, what do you think of this? What weaknesses did you see that Florida exposed that maybe Alabama could take advantage of next weekend? Because Tennessee showed quite a few tonight.
Well, and honestly, it weirded me out that I saw the game at 3-0 because I was watching a little bit more of Oregon, Ohio State, and watched a little bit of West Virginia, Iowa State, and LSU Ole Miss. Then I did this game. And I was like, oh, wow, this is getting serious over in Knoxville. And it was. Because, again, the Tennessee Volunteers usually can't get it done against Florida. They almost didn't do it again, but Josh Heupel's getting them on the right path.
Yeah, Florida shot themselves in the foot a couple times tonight.
God. It was pitiful.
They went for it on fourth down, did a jet sweep, got stopped short, missed field goal. Jackson, they left so many points out there tonight. Goodness gracious. And then in overtime, DJ Lagway, Jackson, I like him. He's got a lot of promise, but he gets a little antsy in the pocket. Kind of like Milroe does, but Milroe's more athletic. But he gets a little antsy and tends to take a 20-yard sack. That really cost him late.
Yeah. It did. It did at that.
But Tennessee got the win. But Jackson, next year, Tennessee's going back to the swamp.
They'll screw it
we
up
know what
again.
Happens.
They'll screw it up again. I'll go as far as to just bet $400 on Tennessee losing in the swamp. I'm not guaranteeing that's how much I'm going to bet. I may just bet more than that, honestly. But we'll wait and see. But yeah, Clemson, they did what they're supposed to. They beat Wake Forest. Yippee! Everybody's gonna storm the field, and you got the pretty lady reporter interviewing Dabo Swinney. No, they didn't. They didn't bring out anybody. They didn't even bring out a reporter, I bet. But I'm just kidding, really. But you're supposed to beat Wake Forest. And Notre Dame did what they're supposed to do, beat Stanford. I mean, what do you want me to do? Give you a cookie? Yeah, good for you. You didn't beat Stanford with Pop Warner as head coach. You didn't beat Jim Harbaugh, David Shaw, Stanford. You just beat Stanford. But Iowa State, but I'm impressed with Iowa State, though. They're 6-0 for the first time since 1938.
Rocco Beck and company, Jackson, Iowa State, looking really good. They went into country roads, got it done. Iowa State, Jackson, it looks like they're on a collision course with BYU this year.
You know,
The two best teams,
oh yeah.
arguably in the
Matt
Big 12 by
Campbell,
record.
Iowa State under Matt Campbell is now 28-30 on the road. They are some road warriors. And to think people actually were whining and crying about Matt Campbell last year. And see that's what I mean. When people do that whining and crying about a coach and all that constantly, when there's really no reason to, like, let them cook. Let them cook. This is an example. And I don't want to call it early, but if things keep boding well for Iowa State, they could win their first conference title game. Their first ever conference title in the Big 12 and their first conference title since 1912. And, if they were to win the Big 12 this year, it would be their third conference title in school history. The other two were in 1911 and in 1912. Tell me Matt Campbell and Iowa State can't do it. I think they can, and I think they will.
They play really well, Jackson. They've got a great shot at it. But I got to say, though, Jackson, I'm really happy for them because, they didn't even do this with Brock Purdy. So the fact that they're doing this now with the less talented quarterback, a lot of people consider Brock Purdy like the most talented quarterback in Iowa State history, and they didn't even win anything. Now that they're doing it with lesser talent in a lot of people's eyes, but a talented running back, and they got the receiving core to go along with it, Iowa State's a dangerous team. I wouldn't count them out, but Jackson, I think the sun is setting on Neal Brown and his career at West Virginia. He keeps losing the big games over and over again.
They're not expecting a Big 12 title in Morgantown this year. They just want to see where the road leads to. Because let's not forget, there's 6 more games left for West Virginia.
Jackson, go ahead.
We need to see what they can do for the rest of October and the first 2 games in November at the very least.
Because here's my thing, Jackson. They lost to Pitt this year. They lost to Penn State. And they're losing these big games. And it's like, and then this is what they got on Neal Brown for doing, as he wasn't winning the important games, the big games. So what do you think Jackson would save him now compared to last year?
Well, he has to go 9-3 or 8-4. I mean, that's all he really has to do.
I don't even think that would save him, Jackson, because he lost that game to Pitt. He lost this big one to Iowa State. Who's left on their schedule could be?
They're not exactly. They're not exactly losing to New Mexico State or Idaho. I mean, no offense to those schools, but still.
But here's the thing, though, Jackson. That people have tried to get Neal Brown out of West Virginia for so long.
I know.
And like Jackson, don't you feel like this is becoming the tipping point? He's not winning enough big games. He's not getting the job done like they hoped.
I mean, who are you going to get? Are you going to get Jamie Chadwell to leave Liberty?
That's what I don't know, Jackson. But we've heard West Virginia fans out of their own mouth say, if Neal Brown don't beat Pitt, or he doesn't split the Penn State Pitt game, or doesn't win some of these other bigger games, it could be bye-bye time in Morgantown. Wow. Some have already packed his bags and said, get out.
Yep. But that's what I say. What you gonna do? Like, if you're gonna fire somebody, you better have a plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Because if you don't, if you just fire someone out willy-nilly because you're throwing a fit at the grocery store, then what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
I don't know, Jackson. I don't know what they would do, but whatever it is, I hope they make the right decision. But as I said, BYU looking
Oh,
good.
yeah. They are looking
Jackson,
fantastic in their second year of the Big 12.
Jackson, could we be on a BYU Iowa State Big 12 title game collision?
I hope so, but let's see what they can do. Like, I think they'll do all right against Oklahoma State next Friday, but we'll have to wait and see. And we got to see if the bounce house bites them. Because I get it, Central Florida is not all that. But the thing about them is, nobody talks about them, they thrive. When everybody talks about them, they fall apart.
Agreed. We've seen that years and years and years and years and years. But good win by BYU.
True.
We shall see. But
yeah, the Brent Brennan era is not having a good start so far. But again, it's his first year. It's not his fourth year. But we know last year's Colorado-Arizona matchup was huge. Now let's see what this year's matchup brings next week on Fox.
yes, it could be a big deciding factor in who goes bowling.
True.
Missouri, you beat your cupcake.
Yeah,
you want a cookie?
There you go. Here's your cookie, Missouri. Now, shoo. We got Pittsburgh, California. Pitt is 6-0 for the first time since 1982. And what is it with Cal? My God, they're terrible. Oh, my God.
Jackson, Cal's a pesky team. I've noticed that. They're pesky.
They suck. They suck. Oh, my God, they suck.
Jackson, I'm going to rebut you right now on that. Cal doesn't suck.
Yeah,
Cal's an all right football team.
Good teams do not suck ass against one-win teams such as Florida State. They don't blow it on college game day in town, and they sure as hell
now
don't.
Listen here, Jackson. Whoa! Back it up. Back that truck up. Put it in reverse. Put it in. You, Jackson, hit the brake. Back it up. Beep beep beep. Jackson, we all know that was some Miami referee scandalous stuff going on last week.
But you still blew a 20-point lead. You still blew a 20-point lead. Oh, you beat Auburn. You didn't beat the 1957 Auburn national title team. You didn't beat an Auburn team with Cam Newton. I mean, I'm supposed to be impressed? Oh, my God, you beat Auburn. You lost to a one-win Florida State team. You blew it against Miami. It doesn't matter that the rest is over. You blew it. You blew it. You blew it.
Here's the thing, Jackson. I understand where you're coming from. I can't defend the Florida State loss. I'm not going to. Like, you got me there. But that Miami game, that was some bad officiating. And I don't like to blame the officials because it's wrong. It's a cop-out. But let's be honest. The officials made some bad calls late in that game. Like, that hit on Mendoza, that was a targeting. But they didn't look at it. And that would have been 15 yards. It would have set them up in field goal range. And Cal would have pulled off one of the bigger upsets of that weekend. Besides, of course, Vandy beat Alabama. Sorry, Jackson, but
that's all right.
You can't tell me, Jackson, that Cal's not a bad football team. They're not.
They're not. They're like an average team. I mean,
but they're not a bad team either, Jackson. You acted like they're poop. Jackson,
because they are.
They're not, though. They're not, Jackson. Cal is a good football team. They're a borderline good to average football team. Does dumpster fire teams, Jackson, take Pitt to the limit in their building? I don't think so. Does a bad football team beat Auburn? No. Do they almost beat a top five team, borderline top five team? No. Does College Game Day go visit a poop team? I don't think so.
Keyword is almost. When will we hear? When will we hear? Oh, they beat Clemson. They beat this team. They beat that team. Oh, they beat SMU on rivalry week. I don't think that's a team that's going to go 9-3. This is not a 9-3 team. Like if they go 9-3, if they win it out the rest of the way, then maybe I will refute my point. I will head back to this week from week 7's edition of the Final Whistle. Be like, you know what? I was dead wrong about Cal.
But see, here's the thing, though, Jackson. College Game Day came to their town.
I don't care.
You can't be a dumpster fire and College Game Day choose to go to your city. You have to be at least confident.
Because all the other games were dog shit. That's the only reason why.
What?
Like,
no.
They felt bad for Cal. They felt bad for them. It was like a little Make-A-Wish thing. It's like, what? Did somebody have a birthday at Berkeley or something? Is that why? It's like, come on.
No. Listen here, Jackson. College Game Day has prestige, has honor. It's one of the most viewed programs in history. Lee Corso Company, they go to games that they think has importance. So then Choosing Cal sent a statement that they thought Cal was a good football team.
They made it seem like it was there for Cal. It wasn't for Cal. They did it to showcase the U. That's why they did it. It wasn't about, oh, we love Cal. They had to go somewhere. Because, I mean, Clemson, Florida State wasn't going to get the numbers up. They're like, you know what? We'll just pick a random game on this list. Here, just pick this one. Next week will be better. We can choose Texas, Oklahoma. We could choose Ohio State, Oregon, or Ole Miss, LSU. But the week of October 4th sucks. Oh, well, the October slate gets a little better. Texas, Georgia's a good one. So, I mean, we'll go there. But, I mean, we're not going. Cross this place off. We're not going there again.
Okay. I'm glad you think that, Jackson, but I choose to believe that they picked Cal because they thought Cal was good. But I will say, Jackson, like you said, Pitt is 6-0. They keep pulling them out of the fire. And Jackson, you remember last year when people were calling for Pat Narduzzi's job, I had been his biggest defender. I said it was one bad year. He does this. I even said, I was like, he has these years where he goes 5-7, 4-8. He has those years where he's just off. He's just bad. But then he always follows it up with a very, very good season. Normally going 7-5, 8-4. And they're 6-0, Jackson. And they control their destiny to get to Charlotte late in December. They're one of the few teams that are still unbeaten in conference play. Go ahead.
Well, and the rest of the slate, as we see, they have Syracuse coming to their backyard for
that's going to be fun
on Thursday night. They got to go to SMU. No, my mistake. Syracuse is week 9. Week 9. SMU is week 10. They got to go on the road for that. Week 11 is a home game against Virginia. Apparently, Virginia's better than they look. They got Clemson coming to their backyard on November 16th. And what does that mean when you go to Pitt? Dreams go to die.
I know that all too well.
But they have to go to Louisville the week after.
Yeah, so Pitt's still got a few games in there.
And they got
if Pitt goes Jackson, if they go 3-3 down the stretch, you think that would be enough to get them to the ACC title game?
I think honestly, they have to do more than go 3-3. They have to go 4-2. And I think the better question will be for the ACC is like we know the champ's going, but will the runner-up go irregardless?
Depends on who the runner-up is. If it's Clemson, Miami, possibly.
Oh, it's likely.
But if it's... Here's the thing, though, Jackson. If it's, say... Here's the thing, Miami. There's a chance, Jackson, an outside chance, but there's an outside chance Miami doesn't make it to the ACC title game either because their schedule's not exactly a walk in the park. They're coming to the Ville next weekend. We're no easy task. They still got a date with Florida State, even as pitiful as they are, Jackson. But as we know, what do you always say when it comes to rivalry games? What's your famous saying?
Gotta take those you take the records out. That's what you do.
Mm-hmm. And they still got to play Boston College, I do believe. Does Miami play BC?
Ooh. I don't think so, but you never know with them. It's always kind of weird with them.
But yeah.
No.
But there's a lot of scenarios that can happen.
Illinois almost
scenarios that can. But to answer your question, Jackson, I think the ACC is going to get one team, and it's whoever wins the conference.
Unfortunately,
I think the Big 12 and the Big 12 and ACC is going to be a one big conference. Unfortunately, this is going to be the Big 10 SEC Invitational.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Does someone want to explain to me what happened here? I didn't catch any of this game. Enlighten me, Jackson.
Illinois almost blew it, is what happened. They got lucky. What was going on there?
I didn't catch any of this game.
And we got breaking news up. Shedeur Sanders throws a touchdown. Colorado has the lead, 28-24. With 3 minutes left against Kansas State.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. If we could show the game, we would, but we don't want to get copyrighted. So we'll be keeping our eyes on our television.
We're good boys, Disney. You don't want us. You want the other guy.
But, Jackson, all I know is Illinois was up by 24 points, and then I see the final score, and I'm thinking, what the heck happened?
Well, which game makes you think what the heck happened? Illinois or Iowa? Or better yet, Wisconsin? Because the Big Ten's had a lot of that today.
Jackson, the Big Ten is just beating themselves up at this point. Holy moly. Hey, Jackson, let me ask you something. Don't tell anybody this, but I think Iowa has an offense.
Yeah, I think they do. Iowa has an offense. Passed around. Iowa has an offense. Passed around. Like
Jackson, when's the last time Iowa put up 40 points in a game?
Yeah,
a serious question.
I know, right? It's like the farthest I could think of is Ohio State in 2017, but that's it.
I'm not being like, funny or making fun of them. I'm just like legit curious. When's the last time they put up this many points?
It's been quite a while. For sure.
Jackson, I tell you what, Wisconsin's becoming my new Jekyll and Hyde of the Big Ten. What the heck?
Oh, yeah.
Seriously, Jackson, one week they're pitiful, and then the next week they're out here dominating Rutgers. Jackson, they're the Jekyll and Hyde of the Big Ten, I swear.
Yep. They are at that.
Holy moly. But yeah, Jackson, the Big Ten's just beating themselves up.
Yep. They are at that. It's North Carolina. Yeah, we know. You gotta go, Matt Brown. Sorry. Go watch.
Yeah.
Go sit in a rocking chair and talk about the good old days and how god awful younger people are.
Yeah, Jackson, this was a really exciting game to watch, and this was on the CW too.
Oh,
Jackson,
and
I tuned
K-State.
into it.
Oh man, and K-State just took the lead 31-20. I gotta tell you, this game is going back and forth like a seesaw. Kansas State, Colorado is going back and forth like a friggin' seesaw. Oh
Yeah.
Put
Army's
Army in the
undefeated.
top
How about
20.
that?
Put Army in the top 25. I mean, how are they not there? Seriously. What's up, Rough Rider Returns? Thank you for tuning in to tonight's edition of the Final Whistle. And want to tell you, thank you for tuning in to today's edition of the Alabama Postgame Show on Alabama with the Voice of College Football. It is much appreciated. We appreciate you tuning in to both shows. And oh man.
Yes, we do. We appreciate everyone for being here tonight. You could choose to be anywhere else on your Saturday night, but you're here. So we thank you. And I hope you're enjoying the show. But go ahead, Jackson.
But how is Army not a top 25 team? Like, good God, they play like a top 25 team. They haven't had these big of wins in the first 6 games of a season since 1945, the year World War II ended, and the year where they were the national champions in all college football. Matter of fact, co-champions with Oklahoma A&M, who is now known as Oklahoma State. How do you not put this team in top 25? My God,
Jackson, I think a lot of it is your competition as well.
I don't give a rat's ass about the competition right now. That's a team dominating its competition. This should be a top 25 team, and they're bowl eligible.
But here's the thing, Jackson. One problem with your theory is they've been playing cupcakes, not very good football teams. And the AP committee and the coaches poll look at that and say, yeah, you've been dominating, but who have you been beating? Like, do you got any name? You got to have that name recognition, Jackson. It's just like, who have you beaten, Army? Have you beaten a Power 5 opponent or Power 4?
Well, oh man, they're in nobody's top 25. They're not even on the Mark Rogers top. Well, they will be tomorrow. But I mean, it's like, what the hell? What the hell?
Oh no!
But what happened?
Yeah, we got to talk about it.
What happened with them, man?
Oh boy! I don't know how much of this you watched, Jackson, but
not
good grief,
much,
Amani.
Unfortunately,
we've still got a lot of stuff to clean up. Getting flags, getting holding. We can't stop a running quarterback. But I will say, Jackson, our running back duo in the backfield of Watson and Brown, look out. We've got some speed. Jackson, I feel like, in all seriousness, I do feel like we have one of the best running back tandems in the ACC. I feel like we're going to win a lot of ball games because of that. And plus, Tyler Shuck's, I think, a really good quarterback if he can stay healthy. And Jackson, it's just running quarterbacks are our weakness. And guess who we've got coming next week? The most running quarterback. Yeah, I'm expecting to have a headache by halftime of next week. So, but Jackson, I must say, Virginia's not a bad football team either. I've got to say that. I know we always say, pitiful Virginia, But Jackson, Tony Elliott seemed to get Virginia going on the right track.
Yeah, they are at that.
And Jackson, the bounce house is having no effect, I see, on anybody at the moment.
Yup. They aren't at that.
Colorado State, good for you all. Good for y'all.
Good for you, man.
Does anybody really care about you all?
I don't know. Some people do, I guess. Washington State did all right today.
Yep, they're 5-1.
A late
Fresno State.
A late 60-yard pick six from Ethan O'Connor helped them out quite a lot today.
Fresno State is 3-3. They're not as good as they've been in years past. Ooh, Nevada getting a nice win at home over the Beavers.
Shout out to our friend from the Voice of College Football, Neil Campbell.
Good win for the Wolfpack.
And Vandy did not let the Alabama game go to their head. Good for them.
Nope. Yeah, Jackson. I didn't watch this intently, but I did pay attention because I was like, is Vandy gonna let this? Oh, we beat the number 1 ranked team. We're hot stuff. But Jackson, they played with energy. They didn't let it get to their head, and they played really good football today.
Yeah.
Jackson, could Vandy be a bowl team this year? They only need 2 more wins to do it.
Yep. I think they could pull it off. I mean, next week they got Ball State, and they're going to have Auburn and South Carolina in November. Now, I don't think they're going to beat Texas, but then again, we didn't think they could beat Alabama, so we'll wait and see.
I was about to say, Jackson, you never know. Any given Saturday.
Oh, yeah. Any given Saturday, for sure.
Wouldn't that be something, Jackson, if Vanderbilt was in the SEC championship game? Wouldn't that be something? I doubt that's going to happen, but...
Oh, but it'd be pretty cool. It'd be a cool storyline, for sure. It'd be a great story to cover. Vanderbilt being in the SEC title. It's like, oh, that team that lost to Georgia State. Like, oh, well, we're going to have the transitive property argument again. And Minnesota won a tight one against UCLA, which
yep. And if Dave Valinsky is here, Minnesota is 4-3. PJ Fleck, I guess, is rolling the boat still, if you want to call it that.
Oh yeah. Did we talk a little bit about Penn State USC? I don't think we did.
No, we've been saving the big ones for last.
Yes, we did.
Like, Jackson, you can't. It's like having dessert. You can't talk about that first. You gotta talk about the last.
No. And it looks like Colorado. Ooh, it is not good for them. They failed to convert on fourth down.
What's the situation, Jackson? How many timeouts they got? And how much time's left?
They only got 1 timeout, 1 minute, 14 seconds. Kansas State's ball, and it's 1st and 10.
I see. But, yeah, to this, though, Jackson, this was a really entertaining game between Penn State USC. How much of this did you catch, Jackson?
I flipped between this one and Texas, Oklahoma. And I got to be honest, I was watching quite a lot of Texas, Oklahoma, Penn State, USC. Even when I was doing the Alabama, South Carolina postgame show, where I had the volume off, of course, but it's Dave Valinsky has been summoned. 2 wins away from bowl eligibility. Rough Ride Return says USC is 1-3 against Big Ten teams. It's really time to hit it. Yeah, the national title hopes, the playoff hopes are gone. USC, all they can really do is play spoiler and shoot for momentum. I mean, they really need LSU to win out. I mean, that USC just needs to win out, and they need to pull for LSU to win out, really, and potentially for LSU to win the SEC. But what is it they always say to you, Austin? What is it they always say?
You never put yourself in a position that you need someone else to win for you.
Or lose for you. Exactly. You just do not do that. But that is the lesson. But chat, that's the lesson you're going to constantly hear a lot. Don't ever put yourself in a position where you need someone to win or lose.
There we go. But I will say though, Jackson, this game was like USC was up 20-6 going into the locker room, and I paid heavily attention to it. But Jackson, USC gave Penn State all they could handle. I don't know if it was the time zone shift or Penn State was taking them lightly, but USC gave them everything they had. They were able to run the ball, but I will say, Penn State, Jackson, they showed a heart of a champion tonight. I mean, coming back from 13 points down, sending it to overtime, and then the defense getting a stop in overtime, and then them kicking the game-winning field goal. They're 6-0, and here's the thing too, Jackson. They're at the point now where they're on a collision course with possibly going to the Big Ten title game if they could beat Ohio State. If. Because I remember the preseason, Jackson, you said this was a game Penn State needed to be careful with. Because you thought USC could play major spoilers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they almost did. USC should have won this game, honestly, but they didn't.
Yeah, there was a lot of mistakes both ways. But let me ask you this, Jackson. Did you learn anything new about Penn State?
I think, honestly, we still need to learn one more thing. Can they beat Ohio State? I mean, I think, honestly, like, I don't think it matters whether they go to the Big Ten title or not. I mean, they just have to go 11-1 or 10-2 just to get in the playoffs. I mean, that's really what has to happen for the Nittany Lions.
I will say, Jackson, before we get to our main courses, our main events, the two big games of the night, I will say, well, Jackson, before we get there, though, I got to give credit to USC. I had a lot of questions about them coming into the year. I think they answered it throughout the weeks with beating LSU, hanging with Penn State. Losing to Minnesota, that kind of, that was kind of one I'm like still scratching my head at. Congratulations on that, by the way, Dave. We weren't here last week to congratulate you, but we'll make sure if Minnesota pulls off any more upsets, we'll be here for it.
Sure.
I will say though, Jackson, I learned a lot about USC and the fact they can't hang with the big boys. And Rough Rider returns. Penn State showed fine determination. They did. Because in years past, Jackson, a lot of Penn State teams would have just made even more mistakes and it could have gotten out of hand. But Drew Howler, Jackson, I think it's time to have a conversation. He might be a top 10 quarterback within college football after his performance today.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm on wait and see mode about whether they can get it done. I mean, it's like I'm deadly serious. They gotta get it done. They gotta They got to win the big ones, man. Like they got to win against Ohio State. I mean, I know USC was a big one today. I mean, not quite as big as a few years ago, but it's still always a big one. I mean, it's USC we're talking here. Dave asked about what's going on with Alabama. Well, I explained a lot of it on the Alabama South Carolina postgame show from earlier today. You can check that out on Alabama with the Voice of College Football. And, we just looked sloppy. We let that Georgia game go to our heads. That's what we did.
Barry say, Jackson, as Barry say, you better not be avoiding Dave. He wants answers. Like, I get it. You love to promote your channel. That's all fine and dandy, but we need answers.
That's what I'm doing. I'm giving answers. That's what my answers bring out on the Alabama postgame show.
Oh, Jackson, you got to give the good stuff to the final whistle too. Like, seriously. Like, Jackson, I get it. And Dave also says, I expect him to struggle with teams like Tennessee or Ole Miss, not Vanderbilt or South Carolina. Yeah, I don't think a lot of people had that on the bingo card. And Clint Moses says, sorry I'm late. Roll Tide. Yeah, Clint, so sorry about what happened out in Nevada. You went gambling and it didn't pay off. The Beavers did get the blackjack. But I will say, though, Jackson, which game do you want? What game do the people want to hear us talk about first? Ole Miss, LSU, or Ohio State, Oregon? Which one do y'all want to hear us talk about first?
Yeah,
I'm kind of curious.
You tell us in the chat. We'll cover it.
Like whatever. Jackson, is there any other games that happen while we wait for them to tell us? Any other games?
Let's see. Well, Kansas State won 31-28, of course. That was the game that happened while we were talking a little bit about right here on air. And
I see. What's our man Ashton Jinsey up to? I see they're winning, but what's his stat line?
Here we go.
They're in a
188 rushing yards.
Go for it, good buddy. Go for it.
188 rushing yards, 1 touchdown, 26 carries. 20 receiving yards, 1 touchdown, 3 receptions.
And they're in a 21-7 game with Hawaii. Well, but yeah, Jackson, I will say both games were great tonight, the two main ones. Whichever one, Jackson, you want to start with, we can. Whichever one they both had their controversy and both had their classic to it.
I think we'll save Ohio State, Oregon as like the grand finale, really. Dave says LSU.
Okay, so let's start with LSU Ole Miss then.
There we go. We get LSU Ole Miss.
Well, Jackson, I'll let you start. Take it away. You're the SEC expert here.
I ain't that big of an expert, but I appreciate it, man. But I got to tell you, Ole Miss falls short in another big game again. Again. They always fall apart. They fall short in the big games. And, man. The losing streak in Baton Rouge continues. Nussmeier bailed out the LSU Tigers, made some huge throws. And as you see, you got that game-winning touchdown from Lacey. It's huge.
Jackson, did you see that throw that Nussmeier made that sent it to overtime? He threw that thing on a rope.
Yeah.
Before, like, the thing was, Jackson, they showed it, and your favorite announcer was on the call for that. And he was like, "Come LSU wins in overtime." And I'm like, Jackson's smiling somewhere right about now.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Wins. What?
It's like this year when he brings out that puberty voice, it's always the teams that I'm not liking during the week. It's like,
Oh my
hey,
gosh. But yeah, I gotta say though, Jackson, that he threw that though on all seriousness on a rope though before the receiver was even open. Like he and then the throw to Lacey, like first play, like like I don't know if you could draw it up any better. Like that's the thing for me. Like here's my thing, Jackson. You know, everyone's giving Alabama grief about pulling these games out of the fire. Does LSU have a lucky horseshoe or something following them? Because they seem to be pulling a lot of these games out.
well, let's
Like
see
South
how
Carolina,
let's
USC, and now tonight.
yeah, they got lucky against South Carolina. They got lucky against Ole Miss. I just want to see how they do at Arkansas and Texas A&M over the next 2 weeks. Because I'm gonna be honest, I want to know if they can continue it.
Well, here's my thing, Jackson. LSU really shot themselves in the foot bad on that overtime drive. Like they got holding penalties. Jackson Dart kept trying to chuck the deep ball. And it's like Jackson, LSU beat themselves tonight. I mean, not LSU. Ole Miss. Pardon me. I kept saying LSU. Ole Miss kept shooting themselves in the foot with the holding penalties, and Jackson Dart kept chucking the long ball, like I said. And here's the thing, Jackson. That's not a winning recipe. You cannot win just relying on having speedy receivers and just chucking the ball around the field. Because even though your kicker made it from almost 60 yards out, LSU basically they took the shot play and that's all she wrote. They would. Here's the thing: if Ole Miss would have sustained a drive, put it together, and scored a touchdown themselves, then that shot play wouldn't have like Ole Miss, like you said, Jackson loses yet another big game, another one,
Yep.
and it's just like, when are they going to put this to bed, Jackson? Like they won last year at home against Jaden Daniels in LSU, but now they're 5-2, Jackson, and their hopes of the SEC title is. Would you say it's over, or do you think it's on very slim rope?
It's on a slam rope, but they have to win out, of course. But they've got more of a chance of being in the playoffs than they do in the SEC title, which, let's be honest, they weren't going to get there because they can never win a big game. They just can't get it done.
And the thing too, Jackson, is you want to know a statistic that you probably know. But do you know Brian Kelly at home at night at Tiger Stadium is undefeated, has never lost a game.
Yeah.
And guess what, Jackson? I believe y'all are playing LSU on the road this year, correct?
Yep.
And if that game's at night, which probably will be, that could smell trouble for your Crimson Tide.
Yeah. But we just have to see what they can do in the postseason, because they can't do anything in the postseason.
Jackson, let me ask you this. You're one of Brian Kelly's biggest critics.
Mm-hmm.
What would it take for you to admit that, to get the monkey off of, get you off of his back? What would it take?
He has to win playoff games.
So if they win the SEC, that you're still not convinced?
No.
Okay. That's fair, I guess. So if they beat Alabama, that doesn't do anything for you either.
No.
You're a tough customer.
You have to be. And it's I've looked at his he's great in the regular season. But his teams cannot win a big bowl game. They can't win a big bowl game. They can't win a big playoff game. Nothing. I mean, Cincinnati couldn't win the Orange Bowl in his second year. They couldn't win the Sugar Bowl, which I mean, Brian Kelly left for Notre Dame by that time. He couldn't lead Notre Dame to a natty. He couldn't lead them to a New Year's Six bowl victory. He couldn't do any of that. What makes me think he's going to do the same with LSU? He's not.
I mean, Jackson, he's got a more talented team now. He's more experienced. And I mean, Jackson, it's all lining up for him. I really think Jackson, I feel like this might be the year LSU can win the SEC. I really do believe that. Because
we thought that in
Jackson,
2022, but he couldn't do it.
But see, here's the thing, though. Georgia, they're much weaker now. Alabama, they're not Nick Saban Alabama anymore. They've got weaknesses. Texas might be their only threat in their way. Might be. Because they beat Ole Miss tonight.
They go against Texas, they're going to get their butt handed to them on a platter.
Well, Jackson, here's the thing. We think that, but it's any given Saturday. And LSU's not something to be taken lightly either. Jackson, they're ranked in the top 25 for a reason. They'll probably be ranked in the top 15 next weekend.
Oh, they'll be more like ranked in the top 10. Like more like top 8.
And here's the thing, Jackson. They've got a good football team. Their defense is really good. They fix the issues, I think. I say that and they give up 40 to Arkansas.
But can it be a team? But can it be a team that wins a playoff game? Because I mean, they did all right against Ole Miss tonight. But what are they going to do against Arkansas next week?
Because my thing is, Jackson, if LSU wins the SEC, I think a lot of Brian Kelly's critics could be put to bed. That he can't win the big one. He can't win a big game. I mean, heck, Jackson, he beat you all 2 years ago in Baton Rouge, and you all still hounded him. You were like,
here's the thing. If he can't win a playoff game, if he can't win a natty, there's always going to be those critics. What did Jim Harbaugh do to get the critics off his back? He got Michigan winning the big ones. Because they said he couldn't win the big one prior to 2021. Michigan couldn't beat Ohio State. What did they do? They did. They couldn't win a playoff game. What they do? They won a playoff game 2023. They couldn't win the natty, they said. They won the natty. I'm saying that's what it's going to take for Brian Kelly. He's going to have to figure out what he's been doing wrong throughout the past years. He needs to be looking at everything he's been doing the past years. You can't just be like, oh, well, he did great this 1 week. That means, oh, they're going to win a big natty and there's going to be a confetti.
Here's the thing that
you can't get hyped up easily. You cannot do it. You can't buy into hype easily.
Here's the thing, though, Jackson. Here's the thing, though. Y'all moved the goalpost on him. Kind of like Jim Harbaugh.
That's life.
For so long,
that is life. You know, it's like
no, but here's the thing, though, Jackson.
That means you have another goal to reach. That's just how it is.
No, but here's the thing. For the longest time, Jackson, it was Michigan State. He can't beat Michigan State. He beats Michigan State. Then it's like, oh, you can't beat Ohio State. Guess what? Then he does that. It's the same thing with Brian Kelly. Everyone's like, oh, you can't beat Big Bad Bama. Guess what? Check. And then they're like, oh, you can't beat LSU. Check. Now
but
they're moving the goalposts saying we need
You still have to prove
And
it.
now
You
they're
can't
saying,
just be like, you can't just be like, what more do I have to prove? You can't be like that. You got to bust your ass
here's the
and
thing
prove
though.
it. You still have
Here's
to.
the thing though, Jackson. Here's the thing, Jackson. I understand your point. I do. But you have to understand, he's winning these big games.
It doesn't
He beat
matter.
Ole Miss.
He can win all
He
the
beat Ole
goddamn
Miss.
Saturday night games all he wants, but it's not enough. He has to win an SC title. He has to win playoff games, and he has to win a national title. And if he wins a national title, if he wins playoff games, then I will hush. I promise you
But
that.
see, here's the thing. Here's the thing, though, Jackson. You could say that for a lot of coaches. Look at Ryan Day. Perfect example. Why is no one fussing at him for not beating Michigan, other than Ohio State fans? And he hasn't won a natty since he's been there. Lincoln Riley. Why isn't no one fussing at him?
There's a lot of people fussing at Lincoln Riley, but there aren't enough people fussing at Ryan Day. You got the point there that no one's really fussing at Ryan Day.
And I get it. Here's the thing. His biggest critic is that at the moment or recently they can't beat Michigan. But how close have they come to winning the Natty? But we never hear no one say this, that, or the other about him. But Brian Kelly loses a big game. Everyone's ready. But Brian Kelly loses a game to like an Ole Miss or Alabama. Everyone's ready to jump on him. And the thing is, Jackson, I feel like that's unfair because Brian Kelly has won a lot more bigger games. I understand that, Jackson, but he's won a lot more of the bigger games than he has lost.
Yeah.
Now, if we start on Lane Kiffin, you would have me there because Lane Kiffin, yikes.
Yeah, but I mean, like, no one really expects Ole Miss to win a natty. That's just not going to happen.
Let me ask you, Jackson, what is the expectation for LSU? Let's start there. Restart there.
They have to win a natty. They have to get a natty at least once a decade. Like, that's the expectation for them. They have to get SEC titles. They got to contend for it.
So I'm thinking Jackson just win the SEC. I'm thinking that's their biggest goal, win the SEC.
Yeah. But a lot, yeah, because, like, I'll tell you one thing. If you want more wild moments such as this, like tonight's edition of the Final Whistle, come on.
We're very argumentative tonight. Me and you are very argumentative tonight, Jackson. For whatever reason, we're going over blows.
Oh, man, I'll tell you one thing. Got some wild clips coming your way. Stay tuned.
Yes, we do. Because apparently Brian Kelly in Texas get things started. But you know something, Jackson?
And there's going to be more to come.
Enough of this chit chat, Jackson. We got to talk about some serious business now. We got to talk about the main course, the main event, what everyone's here to see. The potential Big Ten championship game preview. The Oregon Ducks and the Ohio State Buckeyes on NBC. Jackson, I set the field for you. Take it away, good buddy.
Oh, man. It was a wild ride in Eugene, Oregon. And you know something? It's the first time in school history that the Oregon Ducks have beaten the number 2 team in all of college football. They're now 119-1, I believe. So that's pretty huge. And, you know, that last play, you know, that offensive pass interference call. Chat, what do you think? Was it a fair call? Was it an unfair call? Were the refs right? Were the refs wrong? What do you guys think? And Austin, what'd you think about that call?
So the thing about that was too, Jackson, here's the thing. It's one of them bang bang plays because like Jackson, most of the time they will call that on the defense. That's the thing about it that's frustrating. Like if a defense impedes, they'll throw the flag. They rarely throw it on the offensive player. That's when they threw the flag, Jackson, I was thinking one or two things. I was thinking, okay, we're either getting a pass interference or we're getting some type of holding call. And then when they said OPI, offensive pass interference, I was like, wow, those don't ever get called. It has to be really, really bad for those to get called. Even then, they kind of ignore them. Like, what do you think, Jackson? Do you think the push-off was enough and obvious?
Yeah. Made a good call.
You think it's a good call? I'm kind of 50-50 because I think they should be allowed to hand fight. But if you push someone and that's what gets you wide open, then you should throw it. But here's the thing, Jackson. It just seems like these referees, I'm going to go on another tangent because it's like these referees, Jackson, they throw the flags at the worst time. Like this was a great football game and they throw the flag right there. Like even if it is the correct decision, I understand that. But sometimes it just seems like though, Jackson, the referees decide these games sometimes. If it's the I have to go back and watch it again, but I do believe they got it right. So I'm not too upset at it. But it's one of them things I prefer if you're going to call it more consistently. Because the offensive pass interference, they don't call it enough. Like, I noticed it in the Alabama game today. There was a OPI on one of the South Carolina players, but they didn't call it. And I'm just like, you all got to be more consistent with this if y'all are going to call it.
True.
Like, that's what upsets me. And Jackson, let me ask you something. And this is a great comment. I was about to bring this up there. There need to be a way to signal to the quarterback to slide when there's still time. Agree. Jackson, what was Will Howard thinking?
I don't know
On the
what
last
the
play.
hell. I don't know what the heck he was thinking on that last play. He should have just thrown it out of bounds.
Because Jackson, they were trying to get field goal range, back in field goal range, because that penalty took them out of field goal range. But Jackson, this is giving me PTSD flashbacks from the 49ers Cowboys super wild card game 2 years ago when Dak took off and ran. And then, like, it's giving me flashbacks. Ugh. Brian Glitch. And it's just
brain glitch.
Like, brain glitch. It's just like Jackson, and the time they had remaining in one timeout, and I believe there was 7 seconds left. If Will Howard should have slid sooner, like he should have been like, okay, I got 7 seconds. Like if nothing's there, take off and then go down. Like I need to leave myself at least 2 seconds to get the timeout, call the timeout, and let's either get Hail Mary chance or field goal. Like you got to know when to slide and when to. And sometimes the mental clock isn't always there, but it's just like that cost you the game tonight.
Boom.
Like you did. You made a mental mistake and it cost you.
True.
And let me ask you this, Jackson. Is Oregon going to be number 1 in the AP polls? Or does Texas hold on because of the way they handled business?
It's still Texas for me.
Because I know a lot of people are saying the winner of this game should be number 1.
Oh, yeah.
But you also got to think, and I could see a great argument for that. But the problem is, though, Texas did handle business pretty convincingly. And it's just like, we'll see tomorrow afternoon. what the AP committee decides to do. If they decide to jump Oregon to the 1 and drop Texas down to 2, but we'll have to see. But Jackson, what do you think about this in terms of Ohio State? Is from here on out a must win for the Buckeyes?
Oh, Buckeyes gonna have to win out. Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Jackson.
Okay.
Ohio State goes 10-2. Do you still think they make the playoffs?
Oh yeah, because they're Ohio State. I mean, I wouldn't want them in because that piss poor non-conference schedule they got.
I got you. Okay. So Jackson, basically, if they want to play for the Big Ten title, they got to treat every game as a must win. Every game is a must win.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like if they're 10-2, yeah, but I mean, if they're 11-1, and they're in the Big Ten title game, it really doesn't matter how they do. They're in.
I feel like Jackson, they would have to have like a catastrophic loss for them not to get one of the 12 spots. They would have to lose to like a bottom feeder in the Big Ten. And Jackson, their remaining schedule is Michigan, rivalry week. They've got Penn State. Who else they got on their schedule, Jackson?
Well, we know they got Michigan. They got
Penn State.
They got Indiana at home, but here's the thing. The week before rivalry week is always tough for Ohio State and Michigan.
Yeah. So Indiana could sneak one. I still think Ohio State should win that game. Sorry, Indiana. You're not quite there yet. But we'll have to see. But go ahead, good buddy.
I'm looking at Michigan's schedule. Oh, they're in trouble. They're in trouble.
Yeah, they're not going to make Big Ten title game, I don't think.
Well,
Sorry.
Obviously not, but I mean, the November slate is horrible.
And A-Schrob says we don't have a quarterback really to get the job done. We'll hopefully admit that, yeah. Like, yeah, I think, not to get too far off on the tangent, Jackson, I think Sherrone Moore might need to go quarterback hunting in the transfer portal next year. Yep. That should be priority umino number 1. Go get us a quarterback. Pronto.
Get 5 quarterbacks if you have to.
Yes. Whatever the expense is, Dave Portnoy said he would pay it.
Suppose he should. Oh, man.
And Portnoy is throwing the money down. Yeah, he said he's donating big money to go get a quarterback. So Sherrone, tell him pony up and give you whatever the transfer market wants. If I don't know who will be out there, but tell him pony up. If Arch Manning goes to transfer portal, tell him pony up.
There you go. Go get him. Go get him. You get a quarterback.
But
quarterback.
You get a quarterback. You get a quarterback. Oh, you wanted this one? No, we get him. Oh, you wanted this one? No, we get him. Ohio State, you want him? No, we take him. But I will say, though, Jackson, on a closing note, though, how monumental was this victory for Oregon?
Hugely monumental. They needed a win like this. I mean, if there are 2 teams that I think that could win it all in all of college football, it's Texas and Oregon.
So let me ask you this, Jackson. I'm going to put you to the. I'm going to hold your feet to the fire now because I just thought of this on the fly, but I want to hear this. You know how you told me, Jackson, that Oregon was saving all their best stuff for this game?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Do you think, Jackson? You think the performances against Boise and Idaho? You think we're done seeing them now, or do you think Oregon might still have one more left in them? Of another bad performance.
There might be a couple more, but we'll wait and see. But there might be a letdown moment for a moment or two against Purdue on Friday night, but that's it.
Because I remember when I was freaking out about the Idaho and Boise State game and how that went, you were like, "Good buddy." They're being very vanilla with their play calling. They don't want to give Ohio State any tape.
It's a good thing.
And
It's a good thing you don't put your money in the stock market, man. Because I mean, it'd be like, oh, you got to paint it by, oh, got to paint it sell.
Well, because Jackson, you were telling me, you were like, they're not putting anything on tape. And it's kind of like what Michigan and Ohio State do before rivalry week. They don't put anything on tape for the other team to study.
Yup.
But I will say, though, Jackson, it does prove that Oregon can hang with the big boys. As Todd Blackledge and Noah Eagle talked about it on tonight's broadcast, there was these big questions when all these Pac-12 teams made the move. Can they hang with the big boys? Oregon, USC, Washington, not so much UCLA, but SC, Oregon, Washington seem to be holding up their end of the deal. Wouldn't you say, Jackson? The Pac-12 is doing all right, and the Big Ten for the most part.
They're doing fine. It's I just don't think that, you know, some people just kind of overreact to some things. Some people kind of don't react enough to some things. Which but like Billy Napier, I mean, this is gonna be my final question for tonight. Is he back to getting fired or no?
Ask me in 2 weeks. If Florida's still playing hard for him and they're 4-4, if Florida's 4-4 and they're 2 wins away from bowl eligibility, then conversations may happen.
I think we'll see. Honestly, it's not really gonna matter if the players are playing hard for like it matters to us, but it's not really gonna matter to some of Florida Nation. They're gonna be like, we want him gone, we want him fired, we want him dragged out, thrown out the door because we say so. You know, they're gonna have that. We're gonna leave. We need him to leave us. And then the AD's gonna be like, well, we got to. Hey, buddy, I just want to let you know you're fired. It's not your fault, but it's just people want you gone, Napier.
Yeah, we've seen how ruthless they could be, Jackson, with Dan Mullins. Lord only knows. Took him to the SC title game, and 2 years later, they're like, get out.
Yep. Don't get dodge.
But I will say, though, Jackson, week 7, October 12th, delivered on expectations across the board. The best week on the schedule, all delivered. But next week, Jackson, unfortunately, we're back to having some cupcake games.
There we go.
This didn't last. It didn't last, Jackson. But the whistle has sounded. Means we're done. We're done talking or going around the association. So we'll be back Wednesday night to pick some games. But
we'll have and we'll probably be having more lively debates about Brian Kelly. So tune in.
Yes.
Yep.
But Jackson,
I went a little too hard on my goodbye tonight.
It's all good, Jackson. This is what we're here for.
Yeah, it's like I hope I didn't go too hard on you, man. It's all out of love.
It is. But Jackson, you know, there's a lot of important things coming up this week. We got final whistles Saturday. We got picks and analysis on Wednesday. But Jackson, it's officially Tennessee week for you guys out in Tuscaloosa. And good buddy, if somebody wants to hear about Tennessee, they shouldn't go to ESPN or go to those other big name networks. Oh, no. They need to go to the biggest network of them all. And I'm not even talking about Josh Pate. I'm talking about the voice of college football, the biggest network out there. I mean, Jackson, he's on billboards everywhere. And it's just like Jackson, you got some star power, good buddy, that you're pulling this off. But take it
I
away.
appreciate you saying it, but I don't think I'm a huge star, but but still though, it's pretty fun over there. It's so for Tennessee week, we got Caleb Gerard of the Daily Beacon. He's a sports editor writer at the student newspaper, the Daily Beacon, where he will be joining Johnny and myself to discuss his take on the Tennessee Volunteers and what they look like heading into the 2024 edition of the third Saturday in October. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be a wild one.
Yeah, if you want to listen to some knowledgeable people talk about Alabama, Tennessee, this is the place to be. Get there Monday night, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 Central. Johnny Burks and Jackson will be breaking it all down along with their Tennessee guy. I mean, it's going to be a great time. I mean, obviously Jackson, Johnny Burke always kill it together. I mean, it's like Batman and Robin. I mean, you can't have one without the other. And they haven't found their Joker yet. They'll get there eventually. I mean, we have some suspects. I mean, who knows?
Well, we always got some crazy, wild shows on the Alabama with the Voice of College Football because, of course, we got Tennessee week coming up. We got Thursday the second edition of the Alabama Call-In Show with Jeffrey from Only Talk Sports and myself, where we take your calls on the Alabama channel Thursday nights.
On a telephone? We could call you via telephone? I mean,
we're still kind of figuring it out. Like we take your calls via StreamYard, but I think we can take your calls via telephone, but I mean it's up to you. I mean it's like we can get that kink worked out. I guess I don't know yet.
I mean, I'll get my wall phone. I mean, I'll dial the number, whatever it is. I'll just talk to you through the phone on air. We talk about Alabama. We talk about Louisville. I mean, we talk about anything.
Well, I mean, Jackson, we'll be throwing out that StreamYard link, just calling in about what you take on Alabama, Tennessee, what you take on the Alabama, this, that, and the other. What's your prediction?
Wait,
we welcome everybody.
Wait, what's StreamYard, Jackson? I thought this was AOL chat. I thought this was AOL. So I've been on StreamYard this whole time. Holy moly! As you can see, people. I'm in a totally different universe. But in all seriousness, though, if people want to find that, go to the Voice of Alabama, the Voice of College Football, where you'll find all great Alabama content. Go subscribe, send them a like. It'll do us all a great favor, and do it because you love Jackson. How can you say no to his face? How can you say no to that? But Jackson's also a very busy man. I mean, not only is he at the biggest network in history at the Voice of College Football with the great famous Mark Rogers, but Jackson's even got his own network. I mean, right here on YouTube. Go ahead, Jackson. Tell them about how you're famous network too.
Well, they can find my latest episode of the Jacksonian with Leanne Herring on, from Tuesday, where we went over our take on what's going to go on with Ole Miss LSU. We talk a lot about what the Rebels are looking like. And I think we even talked a little bit about the NFL, but I can tell you right now, it was a fun show. I tell you right now, if you're looking for Ole Miss expertise or one of many experts for Ole Miss expertise, Leanne Herring is a go-to, and especially on Ole Miss at the Voice of College Football and on the Rebel Walk.
Jackson, she is smart as a whippersnapper. Like, Jackson, whoever marries that woman, that they're going to be a match made in heaven, especially if they love Ole Miss.
Yep.
She'll never plan a wedding during the fall. She gets it. She's my kind of gal. That's why I listen to her, especially when it comes to Ole Miss. Because Jackson, I like to think I know some things, but she's a genius when it comes to Ole Miss. I'll stick to Louisville, but
well, ironically, she does talk a little bit about Louisville. Because I think she's in a Kentucky radio station as well. But it's pretty fun. And of course, you can check me out on X at JacksVOCFB, where I also put out some of my episodes of the Jacksonian. But you can also check me out on Instagram and Threads, JacksJohnson543908. Where on all these links, I give my updates on the Jacksonian and some of my adventures on Alabama with the Voice College Football, and what some of my adventures with Austin will bring as well. I can tell you right now, you're always going to be in for a wild ride with us. Austin, what have you got going on in your adventures this week?
So, a lot of things coming out this week. Obviously, probably be uploading some clips from tonight because we had some clip-worthy moments with Brian Kelly in Texas. Me and Jackson are back to our normal schedule. We'll be doing picks and analysis on Wednesday nights. So we'll be back to do our picks, and we'll be back final whistle week 8. And we'll be talking about all the games. We'll be picking all the games. So we're back. It was not a nice week off, but we picked a bad week to take a week off. But you can find it on, like Jackson said, on his channel, or you can find it here at Sports Talk with Austin 2002. You can find me on X at AustinW19802639, where I talk about Louisville. I talk about the Cowboys. I even time to time even talk about a little baseball, even though it's not my sport. I know a lot of people like to talk baseball, but that's what I've got going on this week. Just my 2 normal shows with this guy and some clips throughout the week for you all. And get ready for Saturday. We got a big one. We got the Canes coming to the backyard this weekend. Be sure to watch Georgia, Texas. Oh, I even watched some action on Tuesday night. Who doesn't love a little action? Jackson, he gets action every night. Because he's like Jackson's the match king. He gets it every night on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays. He even gets double action on Saturday. He's a matching-holic.
There you go.
But that's where you can find me though. But there's one more favor, Jackson, before we get out of here that we need the people to do. If y'all are enjoying this and y'all are loving this great content, we need you to like, comment, subscribe, click on the notification bells for us. Subscribe to both of our channels. I know Jackson's close to the magic number 500. The sooner you get him there, the better. That means not only will he be raking in the Daddy Elon money, but he can be raking in the YouTube money too and becoming rich and famous like the great Mark Rogers. And it lets us know that we're doing a good job and we're creating great content for you and that we're doing good work, that we're doing our job right. So that's all we want you to do. It doesn't matter what your team is. You could be a Kentucky fan. You could be an Auburn fan, and Jackson will still let you in. Now he might get a little feisty with you. Jackson, especially Tennessee, Auburn, LSU. Depends on what talk of the town is, but I'll keep him at bay. Back in your pen, Jackson. Come on in. You're going to love it here. It's going to be a wonderful time. But, Jackson, it was fun. Week 7 delivered all the hype. Game of the night, Jackson, before we go. Game of the night.
Ohio State, Oregon.
I'll say LSU, Ole Miss.
LSU.
But this has been Sports Talk with Austin. And that's my co-host and partner, Jackson Johnson of the Jacksonian. It's been fun. We'll see you Wednesday night. as we make picks for week 8. And I'm sure we'll make some stupid picks, but we'll be here to make them. Until next time, everybody, go Cards.
Roll Tide.